no problem.
All right, guys, and we are now live with Phil Jones, and this is Extra Point. Welcome in.
All right, guys, welcome into another week of talking high school sports. Of course, primarily talking high school football, as we are live tonight or late this afternoon from Mellow Mushroom here in Valdosta. If you are out and about, you're in the area, we'd love for you to stop by and join us. Going to be talking some high school football for the next hour. So if you can't make it out in person, stay right where you are, and let's chat high school football for the next hour. For those of you that are watching us, whether you're on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, or of course the platform formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, no matter where you are, thanks so much for checking out the show today here, Extra Point, with yours truly, Phil Jones. You can see, though, I am not by myself. Joining me, and this is the first time that Mark has had a chance to join me in some time, is the founder of ITG Next, Mark Dykes. Mark, thanks so much for joining me. Really looking forward to this.
Yeah, glad to be here. I was thinking, it's been years, I think, Phil, since I've been on the show. So it's been way too long.
It has. It really has. So I'm glad that you're back, and glad that we get to talk some high school football. And do want to give a big shout out to our friends at Pepsi Cola, as well as Dr. Kevin Collins, the Houston Clinic. Dr. Collins, an ardent supporter of what we do here at ITG Next. We thank him for his patronage. And, of course, we also thank Dr. Collins for all he does for the Colquitt County football team, he being the team doctor, as well as Valdosta State University's football team doctor. So big thanks to our sponsors. Well, Mark.
Phil, I do want to add one thing about Dr. Collins. Which, just obviously we're around football a lot, but I don't think most people understand most teams, or a lot of teams, do have an orthopedic doctor at their games every Friday night. And as you mentioned, Dr. Collins is at VSU. So, I told him, I said, I don't know how you can keep doing what you're doing. He works all week, goes to wherever Colquitt's playing on Friday, right? If they're at home, he's there. If they're travel, he's there. And so then he goes with VSU wherever they go on Saturday. I don't know. He's like a robot, man. I don't know what the guy's doing, but, I'll be at a game on Friday night. Well, Dr. Collins, where are you going to be tomorrow? Well, VSU's going to be at XYZ, and, I'll be there too. And I'm like, well, hey, keep doing what you're doing.
Listen, Mark, he does that, of course, in addition to maintaining a very busy practice where he has clients, weekend warriors, not just athletes, weekend warriors, I call them, or just people, from all walks of life, all ages, all sizes. I mean, because after all, no matter what you're doing, if you're active, chances are at some point you're going to need, something worked on. Just kind of par for the course, especially with aging. So Dr. Kevin Collins really does a great job, like you said, Mark, but he is a busy man.
He is a busy man, and a shout out to all those athletic trainers too, who, a lot of times we don't talk about and give them props. They long days too. Start at 7 a.m. Friday night. They get done at, probably midnight or so at least. Anyway, so much for that. We can get on, to the, to the nuts and bolts of the show here.
Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to bring up, of course, our Facebook page. Like I said, though, guys, you can watch us at any one of our social media platforms. So, guys, y'all know the drill. If you've been here before with us, you guys become as much a part of the show as Mark and myself. So do offer your commentary. We got some really fun topics we're going to be talking about tonight. And, of course, I'll be acknowledging everybody that is here checking out the show. Kelly Fountain is checking out the show. Big Rome, Georgia fan. Tanya Stewart checking out the show. Hey, Phil. Hey, Tanya, how you doing? I hope you're working on your tennis game there, Tanya. Jamie Fraley Seeger, hello from Camden County. Looking forward to your top 10s. Mark, I'm looking forward to talking about that as well.
Yeah, it's always interesting. It's opinion based, right? Especially at this point. We won't be able to be definitive until December when it's all over. But we have a lot of fun now doing a little speculating.
Man, it is. Everybody's undefeated right now.
That's right.
Everybody's got the championship hopes. So,
well, hey, I'm a Georgia fan, and I always used to be given a hard time many years ago. People would say, well, how's Georgia going to do this year? I said, look, man, they're going to win it all, national champion. Of course, the last, 6, 7, 8 years, they've been able to get a couple of those, and they're always in the hunt now. But even when they were not like that, I was always very optimistic.
Absolutely. Rosser Sutherland is checking us out from Marietta. Rosser, what's going on, my man? George Childs Lamons, Brooks County Trojans, checking out the show. George, I know you guys have got a new quarterback who just Bryce Puckett transfers over from Cairo. So I know you guys are excited about that. Johnny Holcomb checking out the show. Says, go Cats. Johnny, I know you got to be excited about Valdosta. Really looking forward to hearing what you got to say about the Cats. Stephen K. Wynn checking us out from Leesburg. Stephen, what's going on, man? Joseph Matthews, Cockrell County Packers checking in. Guys, we'll try to get to everybody. Again, want to hear your comments. And let's get started. Well, I think it was Jamie Fraley-Sager who said, I'm looking forward to your top 10. Well, Mark, why don't we get started talking about top 10? We'll start talking about top quarterbacks. And guys, this is kind of a preview of what you're going to be seeing at ITG next. Yours truly putting together the top 10 position groups, quarterbacks, running backs, all your primary positions. I'm going to be ranking those in addition to our preseason top 10. And we're going to get to all that tonight here in this 1 hour show, Extra Point. Mark, I got to start, talking about the quarterbacks. Got to start with the defending state champion, Grayson Rams. Travis Burgess did a fantastic job last year coming in during the season. He took over the starting job, and of course, it's going to be all his. And congratulations, by the way, to Travis Burgess. He just recently committed to the University of North Carolina. You can just saw his post there on Facebook and Instagram. Met with Bill Belichick. I thought that was pretty cool. So North Carolina, Mark, is getting a good one in Travis Burgess, but he's still got some business to take care of there in his senior season coming up at Grayson.
Yeah, he's a great kid. Had an opportunity to meet him, speak to him. First-class guy, appears, first-class family. Grayson, very talented team. I think everybody knows who he is now, especially after that state championship game. So He's not going to sneak up on anyone. I think, he has a bright future ahead of him. So he's certainly, in my top 10. I don't know that I have necessarily an order, but he is clearly up there. I think committing to North Carolina, that'll be very interesting. There will be a lot of talk around North Carolina because Bill Belichick's there.
Yep.
He will have an opportunity. People will talk about him just because they're going to be talking about that program, whether you like it or not. So much for Bill Belichick. Normally he wanted no publicity. He didn't want anything. And, at the college level, you do need some publicity. I don't know if you need what he's bringing all the time, but you do need some publicity. But let's face it, he coached Tom Brady for all those years, won all those Super Bowls. So I think he could be in a really good spot as far as learning and, furthering his career for sure.
Absolutely, 100%. By the way, Kelly Mitchell, thanks so much, Kelly. Kelly says, this show really gets me pumped up for high school football. Thanks, Phil, for all you do. Go Brooks County Trojans. Kelly, thank you so much, man, for the kind words. Really do appreciate that and appreciate you watching today.
Hey, Phil, I'm gonna bunch in here right here because I don't want to forget about our Instagram audience, and I know you can't see them as well as you can see Facebook. But Jamarion Dumb says, "How do we feel about Valdosta High School?" It's a great question, actually.
Well, and listen, let's go ahead and tackle that question. I'd like to get some feedback. Mark, Todd Robinson, one of the more explosive running backs. Quarterback. Of course, he almost served as a running back. Mark, I know you went up and saw Todd up close and personal at Massillon a couple of years ago. So, Mark, I want to get your thoughts on Todd Robinson. I know he's gone now. He's off the University of Georgia. But there's going to be some big shoes to fill at Valdosta.
Yeah, definitely big shoes to fill. He's a warrior. He is a great athlete. I believe he at Georgia is safety cornerback, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's quarterback there. He's a heck of an athlete, but had an opportunity to see him multiple times. Great kid, enrolled early up at Georgia. I think we'll certainly hear from him going forward. And by the way, that Massillon game, I was there. Had he not gotten dinged up, I believe they beat Massillon that game. I mean, of course, you don't like to make excuses. Massillon has an incredible program up there. They had a huge crowd. But Valdosta came out and jumped on them early. And he tweaked his ankle, and he just, he was more or less playing on one leg up there a lot of the second half. So hard shoes to fill. But, I think we'll talk about when we start talking about our top 10 in 5A and 6A, certainly can go back to Valdosta and speak about them as a team. But I think he has a bright future ahead of him. I don't really know necessarily who's in the line there. I do think it'll be hard to fill his shoes, but they've got a great supporting cast at Valdosta.
Yeah, they really do. Shelton Felton is going to have another very talented roster. And like Mark said, when we start talking about 5A and 6A, those will be the two classifications that we talk about here in just a little bit. And we will get to Valdosta when that conversation comes up. Right now, we're continuing to talk about the quarterbacks, looking at the top 10 quarterbacks. And look, these are in no particular order. And I don't even know how you could put them in order, Mark, in terms of, who's number 1, who's number 10. But again, it is a little bit of a tease. I want to let everybody know that quarterbacks is going to be one of the many position groups that you'll be seeing me at ITG Next ranking the top 10 at every position. Quarterback is going to be very tough, I can tell you that. But we've talked about Travis. Go ahead. Yeah.
Phil, you will be putting out your ranking, so let everybody know that's coming. Just keep watching our social media. We're just throwing out some names tonight.
There you go. Absolutely. Well put, Mark. So we've talked about Travis Burgess. We've talked about a couple of players. So, again, want to hear your top quarterbacks. How about Dayton Riola? Remember now, not Dylan Riola. That's the brother. He's off to University of Nebraska. In fact, he went out there and started as a freshman. But Dayton Riola at Buford. Listen, they're a talented group of brothers, or a talented duo of brothers, I should say. And Buford's going to be in good hands with that offense with Dayton Riola, Mark.
Well, one thing's for sure. You mentioned he will be in good hands 100%. Buford is talented on both sides of the ball. They always have a lot of talent there. I think clearly you'd be able to watch out for Buford. I think, again, because of the support, it does make being a quarterback a little easier when you do have a good supporting cast. Let's face it, if you have a talented line, that Buford's known for the offensive linemen too that they typically put out. There was a few years ago, I think I was talking to someone and the comment was made, the University of Georgia should just come take Buford's entire line. Big talented guys. So, and he's also throwing it to some good players and talented running back. So I think they'll be in great hands. I tell you, Phil, changing gears a little bit, my alma mater, Worth County Rams. How about the young kid at Worth County?
Lyndon Worthy. How about that? Name certainly does fit there. Lyndon Worthy. I tell you, a lot of people were talking about this young man for the job he did last year as a freshman. And, gosh, he's going to be back for his sophomore year. I tell you, he looks and plays a lot more mature than what was a freshman last year. Going to be a sophomore. But I tell you, you got a great situation there. Look, and there's no surprise, Mark. It's no coincidence that, we talk about these quarterbacks, okay, being the top of the top 10 quarterbacks, and these that we mentioned certainly are part of that list. It's no coincidence that as we talk about these quarterbacks, we also are mentioning their teams as candidates for a top 10, which certainly goes to my point. You are as good as your quarterback will take you. So chances are, if you got a really solid quarterback, Mark, they're going to give you a really good chance of being a top 10 team.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, let's face it. If you're going to win, certainly if you're going to compete for a state championship, as the old saying goes, you got to have some Jimmies and Joes. There's no way around that. You know what? You could put me in at quarterback, and Bill Belichick's not going to help me, right? So you got to put somebody in there that's got some potential, and clearly this kid does. Man, to be as young as he is, and Coach Hammond's done a great job there. I'm just happy to see Worth County at least back being talked about. When I was growing up, we had a really good team back in the day, and then of course Milton Miller took over the program, did an outstanding job. And it's really been, 30 years, if you want to know the truth, since Worth County has been talked about at any level. Yeah. And they made a little bit of a run last year. I think, look for them when you have a quarterback talented like that. He's a young guy, and I still don't think he's probably getting all the publicity he deserves because he is at Worth County. Now, if they make a deep run this year, I think more people will be talking about this kid.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, so you mentioned Jimmy's and Joe's, and of course you mentioned, state championships. Let's talk about not a current quarterback, but who in the world is going to replace the mighty, mighty big shoes of Luke Nickel at Milton. He is off, of course, to the – you guys see what I'm doing there?
Yeah, the U.
The U. Now, Mark, interesting situation at Milton. You got a couple of young men, Derek Baker coming in from a school that we're very familiar with, St. Thomas Aquinas. And looks like right now he's got the upper hand on what has turned into a pretty good quarterback battle there. But talking about Derek Baker, 3-star quarterback at Milton, Mark.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think you can replace a Luke Nickel. We'll talk about that more when we start talking about the top 10 and different teams. So I do know they've had some kids move in there. I mean, Coach Reeves done an outstanding job. People want to come to Milton now. They're on the map. They're a nationally known program. I think it will be very hard to replace him, everything that he brought to the table, not just on the field, but his leadership. And I met him multiple times, interviewed him multiple times, was around that program, and that core group of leadership that Milton had to make that run. It's hard to replace that. Luke Nichols at the top of that list. Personally, I thought he was the number one quarterback in Georgia, not to take anything away from Juju. I thought just incredible kid and can really throw that ball around and really never got him rattled. Also, he's a student of the game. He's a smart kid. So I think he look for big things for him. I do believe he'll do some big things at the U, but be hard to replace that guy.
No doubt. Now, I mentioned that there has been a quarterback battle this spring at Milton. I mentioned Derek Baker coming in from St. Thomas Aquinas, Mark, but he's got some heat, and that is in the form of Braylon Albritton. He's the young man. He actually was the first quarterback to come in from Milwaukee. I think it was the Milwaukee Academy of Sciences is the name of the high school. But he also is a highly touted quarterback. So you've got a quarterback battle there going on at Milton between Braylon Albritton and Derek Baker. Right now, though, it looks like Derek Baker's got the upper hand. But we'll see how things pan out. Coach Reeves, Ben Reeves, of course. Mark, you've worked closely with Coach Reeves as we have here at ITGNX. And I tell you, he really likes the quarterback battle, the competition. He said he's going to let those guys battle it out and see where the best man comes out when it's all said and done.
Well, that's where we are, in today's world. How about that? You got somebody from Wisconsin, a kid coming up from St. Thomas Aquinas, which we all know that name. Yeah. By the way, I've had an opportunity to go down to St. Thomas Aquinas multiple times, spoke with their head football coach, Roger Harriet. I would say this, there's not a finer person than Roger Harriet at St. Thomas Aquinas, as well as their athletic director, Twan. We're going to be putting individual interviews with them out soon on our platform. But if you want to know why they win, listen to those interviews. Most people, when you say St. Thomas Aquinas, you think they're clearly a powerhouse in football, but you probably think, boy, this is a big, beautiful school, and they probably have these incredible facilities. Well, that's not the case. They win because of the people they have. Yeah. Their school is older. They do have a nice football stadium, but look, their weight room is – I mean, I'm trying to there's a lot of middle school weight rooms in South Georgia that look as good as their weight room.
Yeah.
They just don't have all the bells and whistles, but boy, the people that they have, I can't speak highly enough about them. You know, that's a whole show in and of itself. To talk to them, would love to play some parts of the interviews that I've been able to do with them, but just outstanding people. But I say all that, you know, it's going to be tough. Somebody's not going to play. Only one person's going to line up at center, under center, excuse me. And, you know, you hope those guys are talented enough. Whoever's not playing, I don't know if they're going to stay in that backup role, or maybe will they flip around and play somewhere else. But you got a feeling that, you know, I'm sure people know about them and they'll have an opportunity at the next level. But that's tough. A lot of talent up at Milton. I'm sure that's a difficult decision to figure out who's going to play, who's going to sit, and, you know, how does that play out through the course of the season. You know, you want it to be a positive situation there. Everybody be on board, pulling in the same direction. But yeah, I'm sure both those kids are capable.
That's right. Give a big shout out to my buddy Ren Estes, checking us out from Tifton. Ren Estes says, "Hey Phil, what y'all think about the Tift County Blue Devils this year?" Ren, we'll get to Tift County here in a little bit. I know that they've got an excellent quarterback, young quarterback, and I tell you, Tift County really looked good against Langston Hughes. Man, I tell you, of all the teams, and we'll mention this real quick and move on, but of all the teams that have made quite a buzz this spring, it's Tift County, and I think certainly the passion for Blue Devil football is back, Mark, with the arrival of Coach Littleton.
Yeah, Coach Littleton did a great job at Bainbridge. I mean, he's done a great job everywhere he's been. You know, when you beat Buford, which they did, on their way to the state championship there that he won.
That's right.
I think look for them. Look, he's an old school guy. That's what I like about him. Physicality. I think he certainly will have Tift County going in the right direction. There's athletes there. There's athletes in all of these towns in South Georgia. Yep. It's just a matter of keeping them in the program, and that comes down to leadership. You know, you've got to get down to that middle school and keep kids at that level so that you can develop them and then get them in high school. And I think Coach Littleton will do a great job there, and you know, would love to see Tifton do well. Look, it's better for South Georgia when all the teams in Region 1 6A are doing well and competitive. I love South Georgia high school football.
Absolutely. And, you know, Mark, the dynamics of the state have kind of, I won't say changed, but the South Georgia and North Georgia, you know, have always, you know, kind of competed back and forth. I can remember when they had a South Georgia champion and a North Georgia champion that would play each other for the state championship. Now, I know I'm dating myself, and some of our viewers may not remember those days, but you know, I guess I bring that up because there's a lot of people wondering, you know, especially in 5A, 6A, which we're going to get to in a little bit here, but, you know, people wondering who and when is the next 5 or 6A state champion from South Georgia, and who's it going to be? We'll certainly get into that a little bit here in just a little bit. Mark, you got any comments on that, though?
Well, boy, I tell you what, said a lot right there. I mean, we could probably talk about those last couple of sentences you said for a minute. I do think that for whatever it's worth, I mean, North Georgia clearly, you know, has closed the gap. I say closed the gap. There's always been a lot of talent. I think South Georgia's always just had this passion, because, you know, there's not as many schools here. You may have 1 or 2 schools in the county. Yeah. So people rally around that school. I think, you know, where we are now, look, let me put it out there. I'm an old school guy. I just soon everybody play with the kids you have, in your particular area. But that's not the way it is today. Let's just face it. When you leave the 8th grade, you can go where you choose.
Yeah.
And then we see kids moving around, and that's wherein North Georgia has an advantage. I mean, it's just a fact. There's more people there. There's more population there. There's not a lot of people moving to, Moultrie, Georgia. There's Valdosta gets some people because of the base. Tifton's a nice little town, but again, there's just not the population here. So you don't see people moving around as much. And I think therein is the big difference. I do think there's good athletes in all the towns in South Georgia. I think South Georgia overcomes a lot by playing a physical brand of football, and the communities come out and really support. But, to answer your question, and we'll be talking about that in a minute, our top 5A and 6A schools. But look for some of these South Georgia schools to make a run. And I do think we can expect some schools to, always make some noise at 5A or 6A from South Georgia.
Absolutely. So we'll kind of wrap up. I think I cut myself off there. We'll wrap up here our quarterback talk, and we'll move over to running back. So we're looking at Stephen Cannon from Benedictine. He'll be coming off that injury suffered a couple of years ago, or actually last year, but he is back healthy. Stephen Cannon, great quarterback for Benedictine, Texas Tech commit. Mason Holtzclaw, Mark. Speaking of, we talked about Milton, who's going to replace Luke Nickel, who's going to fill those big shoes. Well, also pretty big shoes over at Carrollton. And Mark, you always have some colorful comments to offer about Carrollton and Juju Lewis. Why don't you share with our viewers kind of what I'm referring to there?
Well, listen, I think anytime, and we'll get to this more in depth when we get to the top teams. I think Juju is an incredible quarterback. I do think sometimes, I think he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He and LeBron James, the only two high school kids to be on. So, I mean, when you say a high school athlete's name in the same breath with LeBron James, that's as high a praise as you can possibly get. I think, again, I think he's a good kid, great quarterback. Again, I feel like Luke Nickel was the best quarterback in Georgia. That's my opinion last year. I do feel like the kid up at Grayson, came on late in the year.
Travis Burgess, yeah.
I do think I think it'll be better for Juju now to be out of high school, to be in college, and, to get in a new system, maybe to get it to where he's not talked about as much as, hey, he is the guy. I think if you notice in the video we just put out at Grayson, the DB that got 2 picks on him, and if you watch that video, he said, "Hey, we tapped it and then it fell in my hands," and he said, "Hey, I just got 2 interceptions for the number 1 quarterback in the world," right? That's a lot of expectations for a kid. I think sometimes it can be a little bit too much, but look for Carrollton. Do not be surprised. Carrollton will be right back in the mix.
Right. All right.
Heard it here. Carrollton will not miss a beat. I think sometimes, I know every time I watch, he's an incredible quarterback, but when I watch Carrollton, I saw a very well-coached team, saw a lot of talented athletes on the field. I'll draw it back to when Tennessee had Peyton Manning, and, Peyton left. The next year, T. Martin won a national championship.
That's right. That's a great point, Mark.
Yeah. Who knows?
Absolutely. All right. And speaking of Carrollton, Mason Holtzclaw, it looks like he's going to be transferred. I believe it was from Tennessee. And Mason Holtzclaw coming down to take over for Juju at Carrollton. And you heard it right here from our very own Mark Dykes, said the Carrollton not going to miss a beat. So, all right, real quick. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was gonna, and I'll make a few more comments on that when we get back to the topic.
So Cam Hill, look out for this young man. These names here that I'm going to point out. We'll move on to running backs. Cam Hill, Thomasville. He's going to be a 4-year starter going into his senior year. I tell you, this young man has done a lot for that program. He's really grown. So I know a lot of the talk, of course, is about the team on the other side of town, Mark. Well, actually, right down Highway 84. I should say. They're practically neighbors. Of course, talking about Thomas County Central and Thomasville. But both of those teams and fans of each of those teams are going to have a lot to look forward to when it comes to their team's quarterback. And of course, I'm talking about Cam Hill and Johnson. What is it? Jay, help me out with this. Is it no? Jace Johnson is the young man at Lowndes, and then at Thomas County Central, you've also got a Johnson. You guys help me out with his first name, but anyway, two great quarterbacks there at Thomasville in the city of Thomasville, the Rose City.
Yeah, all these names run together for me. Phil, I'm actually relying on you for help with the names. A lot of talented quarterbacks. And I don't think we can move off of quarterbacks without talking about the quarterback at Gainesville.
Absolutely.
He's very talented, very good kid. Had an opportunity to meet him, talk to him. Very smart kid, very well spoken, good leader. I was talking to him. I asked him. I said, "Well, hey, how far can you throw the ball?" He said he could throw it 75 yards.
No kidding.
75. Now, I believe him, but
you guys know how hard that is.
He can throw it a lot further than I can. 75 yards. This kid's got another year of high school ball left.
Yeah, of course, Mark. Yeah, the young man Mark is talking about, Kareem Hughley, 4-star out of Gainesville. And I tell you, again, we'll be talking about Gainesville here in just a minute, but Gainesville has got a lot to look forward to. A lot of great athletes, and again, a great quarterback. And you are as good as your quarterback is. I firmly believe that. So, all right. Want to mention Trace Hawkins. He's a young man, as a freshman, came out last year, really stole all of the headlines, Mark, and for our viewers last year as a freshman, coming out and leading Calhoun to the state championship. Of course, so the secret is out. He'll be back, though, to run the Calhoun offense once again now. A year older, though, a year wiser, a year more mature. He's coming out, though, for his sophomore year to run the Calhoun offense once again, Mark.
Yeah, they're a very talented team. Look for them. They're going to be on the roll for a minute. I know that you, a while back, put out an article about which team is most likely to repeat.
Yeah,
they're probably in that that conversation. Of course, Carver Columbus would be another pick I have. That's a different conversation for a different day, but very talented. But yeah, it's look for big things from Calhoun for sure. And then, of course, I know we're going to talk about running backs a little bit. I still think at the high school level, the running game is crucial.
Yeah.
I know you're starting to see, everybody throws it around, and even at the NFL level, it's interesting. I think Saquon Barkley, has revived the running game. He and Derrick Henry, but certainly went in the Super Bowl behind his performance for the Eagles.
Yep.
I think the importance of running back, look, at the end of the day, it starts up front in the line of scrimmage. Right. I still believe the team that can run the ball consistently has a better chance to win. That's just, you see these teams throw it around and, lose some high scoring games. I do believe you need some semblance of a running game to win.
J.E. Woods, go to some of our comments, Mark, from our viewers. Man, we got the best viewers in the world. We appreciate you guys so much. J.E. Woods says Hawkins, talking about Trace, has been that good since youth ball. How
Yep, so I think we lost Phil here.
Yep, guys, give us 1 second. Phil should be right back. Mark, if you want to go ahead and keep going, we'll get Phil right back.
Yeah, sure. Phil should come right back for us. So I know we're going to talk about running backs a little bit again. As I mentioned, I'm an old school guy. I believe that you have to have a good line of scrimmage, good offensive line, and a running back to win or to compete for a state championship. And talking about that, some of the running backs coming back, I know I need Phil here to help me with names, but I know Grayson has a very good running back coming back. Carver Columbus has a talented running back that'll be back as well. Also, we can't forget about Colquitt County.
Right.
Phil, you there?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, we I think we dropped there, but I am back.
Yeah.
Mark,
So I was moving us on to running backs.
all right, very good. Yeah.
I said, hey, I know we got some good running backs. Grayson has a talented running back. Carver has a little guy. He's not a big guy, but he's a very talented running back. And of course, Colquitt County has a very talented running back as well. Valdosta, another, I think Foster's his last name. I believe he's coming back. So give me a talented running game.
Yeah, so Mark obviously is big on the running, the running back. And listen, that's old school football, and there's a reason. Especially when you start talking about these smaller schools, there's a reason that these teams like Fitzgerald, Mark, who heavily rely on the run game, they're always going to be in the mix, because they love to run the football. Pierce County, another team. Remember Pierce County winning the state championship a couple of years ago? And I think they ran the ball every play in that championship game except for maybe 3 or 4 plays. Maybe it may not even been that many. But, these smaller schools, of course, they have to, with the limited numbers, have to rely heavily on the run game. But it's no coincidence that when you rely on the run game, you win football games. And I just mentioned a couple of pretty good examples there.
Yeah, I had an opportunity. We put a video out we did with Coach Jim Dickerson back at Clinch County.
Yep.
I love Coach Dickerson.
Me too.
I believe he's won like 5 state championships. And, he said, well, we're going to throw it around a little bit. And then out of the same breath, he said, I believe the game's won at the line of scrimmage in the running game. Look, they're going to run the ball. They may throw it a little bit, but they're going to run the ball. I think you got to throw it, but it's not every day you're going to get a talented enough quarterback in high school just to throw that ball around all the time. So, again, I'll take a good running game, especially if you have multiple backs that you can throw at people, and certainly a change of pace. I'll go back to, I tell everybody back in 2007, Lowndes running that wing tee with Kari Franklin and Dariet Perry and Greg Reed in the same backfield.
Wow.
And I forget who the fullback was, but I'd be standing on the sideline, and I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell you who had the ball. And there were times they played, they didn't throw the ball one time. But, that's Randy McPherson, Coach Matt, the great.
That's him.
McPherson.
That's him.
Respect for him and what he did. Love the way he approached the game of football. But I love watching the way that they would run that offense. And look, if you had the right personnel, you can certainly be successful with that offense at the high school level.
All right, guys, so we're going to kind of put this thing on the fast track here real quick, because I know a lot of you are really anxious to get to our top 10 rankings in terms of teams, our top 10 poll. And we're about to tell you who we think are the teams to look for in 5A and 6A. And by the way, guys, all this content that we're talking about, be looking out for it at ITG Next Georgia. This week, I believe we're releasing our, and I put this together over the weekend, the top 10 offensive linemen. Let me tell you something. We talk about quarterbacks and running backs. Let me tell you, this group of offensive linemen that are coming out, I'm talking about seniors, sophomores, juniors, even a freshman or two, probably the most talented group I can remember in a long time. It was hard putting together the 10 best. So anyway, be looking out for that, as well as our Class A Division 1 and 3A private only top 10. Remember that started last year, guys, where we ranked the top 10 in the private class, just as they'll be represented in the playoffs. So be looking out for that. And who do you think I've got number 1 in Class A, the private division? Any guesses? You guys will be able to see for yourself coming out here. I think newsletter going to be released in the next couple of days. So anyway,
next couple of days, that's a surprise. And and talking about offensive line, they grow kids bigger today.
What's that now? What's that?
Kids they just grow bigger today. I mean,
don't they though?
Going around visiting these programs, when I was over at Carver, their line averages like 6'4", 325. And I'm meeting this kid who's like 6'5", 310, and he just turned 16.
Unbelievable.
By the way, I want a very articulate kid, like over a 3.5 GPA, just great offensive lineman over at Carver Columbus. And I was up at Grayson, the same thing, just a big offensive line, big kids. I mean, back in the day, if we had somebody that weighed, 190 pounds, I mean, we had something, many years ago. And now to see these lines, how big they are, it's insane.
All right, so real quick, like on running backs, so getting a lot of comments here. David Wood says Grayson has several good running backs coming in. Joseph Matthews tells us to look out for Jay Lamar, running back for Colquitt County. I've got him right at the top of my list, by the way. Jay Lamar really had a breakout season last year for the Colquitt County Packers. Look out for Jonas Walton, Central Carrollton. He's going to be something else. But, guys, let me tell you the team. Thank you very much. I want to give our great servers here at Mellow Mushroom a big shout-out. They're doing a great job.
I'm jealous, man. You got the pizza going on.
I do. Great pizza, great soda, some great service, and we're having a great time here. Great atmosphere here at Mellow Mushroom. I want to thank our friends at Mellow Mushroom for hosting us tonight. But I tell you, the team that has probably from top to bottom the most talented running back room is the McEachern Indians. Guys,
okay.
Let me tell you something. I've been talking to Michael up there, Director of Football Operations. They had a young man come out in the spring game that they won against Kell. They weren't even expecting him to do much, and his name escapes me right now, but turns out his performance in the spring and has got him already an offer from Ole Miss. And again, the name escapes me right now, but the name I've got to look out for at McEachern, Jarion Campbell. He's been making some noise the last couple of years, and that's just scratching the surface. So you heard it here first. Look out for McEachern. And remember, I did consider them real quick. Like I did, you guys maybe have missed the story. I came out with top 5 dark horse teams to watch out for, Mark, and McEachern was one of them, and that's one of the reasons why. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say McEachern's has some good athletes there, not just football, but many sports. I know they're known for basketball. Had put out a lot of good basketball players. Doesn't surprise me. McEachern, I think, certainly could be a dark horse team. So I guess, Phil, you got them in your top 10.
100%.
Okay. Hey. All right.
I don't know. No, let me back up. I'm not sure. Gotta see about that one. I do think McEachern. Remember Kareem Reed taking over as the head coach. He came in last year, and I think he's going to do a great job at McEachern. Well, I tell you, if you've never been to McEachern, great facilities. They've been blessed with a great endowment from years ago, and they make great use of it. And McEachern, one of the classiest programs, great facilities. I say great facilities. They actually have a lot of work that needs to be done on the stadium. They're doing some upgrades. So if you're going to a McEachern game this year, I think it's the majority of the home side is going to be closed down for the rest of the year. So if you go to a game at McEachern, you're going to be having the home side and the visitor side all sitting together. So
their weight room there, they have a really nice weight room.
Yes.
And it overlooks the stadium.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, very, very nice place. McEachern's like a little college.
They are.
Hey, guys, we got on Instagram, I don't want to forget about Instagram, but we got Trip Blaylock coming in on Instagram saying, "What's up, guys?"
Trip?
Yeah.
Trip Block from Lee County. Is that right?
That is correct, Phil. Yep. He commented on Facebook, too, and said, I just saw where he said, "My guys, I commented on IG, but I don't know if y'all saw it." Yeah, what's up, Trip?
Hey, Trip, what's going on, brother? I hadn't seen you in here in a couple of weeks, man. Always great to see you, buddy. We love you, man. Thanks so much for checking out the show.
Yeah, Lee County's biggest fan. Gotta love Trip Block. Such a wonderful person whose light shines bright. Nobody loves high school sports more than Trip Block.
You're absolutely right, Mark, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks that second that. Adam Hips mentions Holloman and Dixon brothers are a trifecta in Tift County's backfield. Yeah, Tift County certainly going to be a team to watch for. Rosser Sutherland says, "Ugh, McEachern." Rosser, big Marietta fans. Are we getting those guys stirred up there, Mark? Marietta and McEachern. Two big
yeah, but Phil, I'm thinking we better move to 6A. Top 10, we may not make it to 5. I don't know. We're running out of time.
Well, hey, if we need to go a little bit long now, we can go a little bit long. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that says we got to shut down at 6:30.
Yeah. Well, we can probably talk for a minute.
Yeah,
the highest classification.
There you go. All right. So, which one do you want to go with? Let's start talking about top 10, class 5A and 6A. Mark, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with 6A. I mean, give me your thoughts.
All right, guys, and I want to hear y'all's thoughts. And again, we're going to be coming out with our preseason top 10, 6A, 5A, and all the classifications. I mentioned earlier, already releasing our private top 10. But class 6A, I think you got to start with the defending state champion, Grayson Rams. I think and again, Mark mentioned it earlier, we had this story of I think 2025 is going to be the year of the repeat, and I think that starts with right at the top with Grayson Rams, Mark.
I agree. I think Grayson, I've been up there a couple of times. I think I was up there about 3 weeks ago. Had an opportunity to see those guys up close. I definitely think there's a strong possibility they repeat. In talking to Coach Bryant, I asked him about the numbers in the program, okay? And he said, we got 170 kids, 10th through 12th. If you throw in the 9th graders, they have over 200 kids in that program.
Wow.
Over 200, okay? And let me tell you, when you're talking about eye test, they passed the eye test real well.
Looking good getting off the bus, as they say.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, I had an opportunity to see those guys up close, college scouts all over the place. I mean, saw them out moving around out on the practice field. They're loaded up everywhere. But here's the thing. I think when we talk about teams repeating or teams competing, a coach told me a long time ago, Coach Pilcher.
Yep.
All those state championships at Thomas Kennedy Central.
That's right.
And he said, Mark, he said, to win a state championship, you got to have everybody on the same page. Everybody. All your football staff, your head coach, your assistant coaches, then your players and parents, your administration, all together. And I got to say, having been around Grayson, they're on the same page. All those kids think the world of Coach Bryant. DeBerry, the athletic director, is doing great things at that program. He wants them to win. He wants to do he'll do the things you need to do to put them in a position to win. But they're all pulling in the same direction, so to speak. Everybody on that team and that program, and given the talent they have, clearly you got to look at Grayson. They lost their first game last year. Collins Hill beat them.
Yep.
And they didn't flinch. I talked to those kids, and as well as Coach Bryant, and he said, we lost the game. He said, in a way, it was kind of good for us, kind of put things into perspective. They regrouped, and then, of course, they didn't miss a beat after that. They beat Carrollton, really, I'm going to say handedly. I think once you got into that second half, it was apparent that they were the better team that day. So I agree. Clearly, you gotta start with Grayson. I'm also an old school guy. I think, if you're the champion, somebody's got to beat you, right? So I think look for them to be right back in the thick of it.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I want to give a shout out. I really want to thank Jordan Mullis, former Appling County head football coach. Jordan Mullis checking out the show. Jordan says, appreciate you, Phil, and what y'all do for high school kids. Jordan, thank you so much for that, my friend. I hope everything works out for you. Had a chance to talk with Coach Mullis earlier today, and hopefully we'll be hearing about Coach Mullis in the near future. But, Coach, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you, and good man. You do a great job, and I'm sure at some point you'll be back in the saddle again.
Yeah, great to hear from him. I thought he did an outstanding job at Appling. It was an unfortunate thing. I mean, those things happen. Clearly, I don't know what all went on, but I know my interactions with him, had an opportunity to go over Appling County. Great place there, by the way. Great community. Those people love their high school sports there. There's also a meat shop there in Appling County. I cannot think of the name of it.
A meat shop?
Yes, a meat shop. They grow their own cows right there, process the meat and sell it.
Really?
And I cannot think of the name of it.
Jordan, what's the name of that place Mark's talking about?
Man, he told me about it. I went by there and I packed some steaks up and took them home. Man, they're as good as you will eat. So yeah, if you get through Appling County, you definitely want to stop by. I cannot think of the name of it, but I'll be prepared for that next time we come on the show.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, good stuff there. But getting back to the talking about the rankings, I think Grayson. I think it will be very competitive in 6A all the way around, but I think you got to start with Grayson, and they have such a core group of leaders back off of that team. They're not losing a lot of people, at the end of the day. I mean, They got the quarterback back. They have their all-world linebacker is back. I mean, was I talking about earlier about these offensive linemen, how big they are? Well, guess what? They're that big at Grayson too. They are big guys up on the front of that line, and I think look for them to do big things.
We got a great turnout here tonight. Checking out the show online, no matter where you are. By the way, we're really happy to be providing so many different avenues that you can check out the show. Instagram. Facebook, of course, our traditional platform that you've been able to watch the show at. X, aka Twitter, YouTube. Who am I leaving out here, Mark?
YouTube, X, Facebook,
Instagram.
Yeah. Phil, did you guys see the comment? Our guy Justin said, Circle F Meats. Woody Folsom owns it. Shout out Circle F Meats.
Circle F Meats. Let me tell you what, that is some good stuff right there. I mean,
how about that?
Yeah, I give them big props. That's good stuff. You got to go to Circle F Meats if you get through there.
Justin Kyle Haley checking out the show. Justin, what's up, brother? Man who big high school football fan. We do want to remind everybody, too, we have got a great lineup of our game of the year, and we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that as we get closer to the season. I think folks are going to like our lineup we've got this year, Mark.
Yes, always a lot of fun. Of course, it's tough. There's so many great games, but, fortunately, it seems like we picked, we've had some really good ones over the last several years, and that won't be any different this year.
You mentioned Collins Hill kicking off the year against Grayson. That's certainly looking like a possibility that we could be kicking off the season with.
Yeah, talking about a big game. I mean, that's, again, last year Collins Hill beat Grayson.
Yep.
Collins Hill's very talented. So, Phil, what are your thoughts with Collins Hill? Let me get your opinion. Are they in your top 10?
100%. I had it in my top 10, last year, and we'll be doing it again this year. Last year, we were a part of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's combined top 10. And we appreciate Todd Holcomb allowing us to be a part of that. And anyway, I came out last year, and I had Collins Hill in my top 10. We were the only outlet, Mark, ITG Next was, that had Collins Hill in the top 10. That was something not lost on Coach Drew Swig. He said, Phil, appreciate that. I said, but, listen, it's not just for fluff. I thought, and I think they'll do it again, Mark, they've got one of the best defensive, well, really one of the best defensive units. Okay. Deuce Gerard's, and I think I may be butchering his last name, number 2. How about that for a defensive lineman? But he is one of the most dominant and talented players on this planet. And he's going to be anchoring that defensive line.
If you go stand beside that kid, I mean, you begin to appreciate just how athletic he is. I mean, he is a big guy. And I think when I was up there, he runs like the 100-meter. I mean, I was told like in 11 seconds. And you think, well, that's really fast. This guy weighs 250 pounds, 260. And look, he's NFL all day long. I mean, he is an unbelievable player. Also, had an opportunity to meet him. That may have been a year and a half ago now. But a great kid. Coach Swick's done a great job up at Collins Hill. I mean, they do a great job. I think you can never count them out. I think we'll kind of know where people stand certainly after that first week when Grayson and Collins Hill play each other. That's a great game.
Boy, it is going to be a great game. Again, we've been given the go-ahead to do that game if we want. So we'll be talking about that. Looking forward to bringing you guys Collins Hill and Grayson to kick off our 2025 ITG Next Georgia Game of the Week. Man, we're going to have a blast. All right, so I like Collins Hill. I like Grayson. Of course, we're talking about 6A. Mark, you gotta like Buford in the conversation as well.
Yeah, you can never count out Buford. I think if you just take a look at, the rankings for recruits, which again, I still don't quite know where the stars come from, but if you go by that, Buford has a lot of players with a lot of stars. Okay. And that's another place that I can say that are first-class people from the top all the way down. Coach Applin, Tony Wolf, everybody there. There's a reason why they win and why they win consistently. Now, they hadn't won a state championship in the last couple of years, but let's put it in perspective. Look how many they've won in the last 20 years. Just lots and lots of state champions. And also not just in football, many sports. And I had an opportunity to go and interview Dexter Wood and Tony Wolf and Coach Applin and talk even some of their other coaches. They do an outstanding job. Buford will be in the hunt every year, not at just football, but many sports. I also will just throw this out there. Buford does not go recruit all these kids. I know Buford doesn't recruit. They don't have to recruit.
They don't. They really don't.
That want to come there. Their facilities are incredible.
Yes.
Their school is incredible. Now, they're a city school, and they just happen to be located in a place where there's a big tax base.
Yes.
So, yes, they do have the financial means to do a lot, more than most schools.
Well said.
Product of where they are.
Yep.
I think what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people send their kids to Buford early, when they're in, grade school even. Yep. Right. But you don't see all these people just moving to Buford to play 1 year. Tony Wolf and Coach Applin are not out recruiting players. That does not happen.
100%. And Mark, I've been saying that for such a long time.
Also, there's no apartments in the city of Buford.
How about that?
They don't exist. And that's by design. Having talked with them, the city and the school board, they're hand in hand. The same people run the city that run the school board. Yep. And when that community was organized way back many years ago, the leadership, they did not allow for any apartments to be built. They wanted people to own their own home. Of course, now homes cost a fortune in Buford. So if you're going to transfer into Buford, you probably need to have you $1 million to buy a house because, you're not going to just go get an apartment down the road. Now, yes, if you live in Gwinnett County somewhere, you can drive there. But I can assure you, if you were to look at all of the rosters of the schools in the greater Atlanta area, there's a whole lot more schools where you get kids coming in to play 1 year or 2 years That's just not what Buford does.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on. Class 6A again. We've talked about sort of what we would call the shoe-ins, Mark, in Class 6A, unless there's a tremendously big upset. But you can bet your bottom dollar that these teams we're going to have in our Class 6A top 10. Grayson, right at the top. Buford, Carrollton, North Gwinnett, Collins Hill. Okay, I think that's 4 or 5 teams right there. Let's talk about some of the teams, though, maybe on the periphery, the edge. Who's some of these teams that's going to be maybe trying to claw their way in? And let's talk about Southern Georgia teams, because we were talking about that, kicking around that idea a little bit earlier, Mark. If we had a Southern Georgia team that's going to have a legitimate chance of not being only in the top 10, Mark, but possibly trying to steal a championship. Let's talk about it. I think right near the top, you've got Colquitt County, but we're getting some votes maybe for Lowndes. Lowndes lost a lot on defense. Lowndes going to have one of the most talented offensive lines anywhere. Every one of these guys is going to be college bound, but I like Colquitt County. But any thoughts on any other Southern Georgia teams? And I say Southern Georgia teams, of course, we could be talking about anywhere Macon South, Mark, that you think of could be cracking the top 10.
Yeah, one thing I do want to add to the teams that we were, just mentioning that are going to be, that we will be in the running. Yep. Look, I feel Carrollton will be equally as good as they were last year. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, right.
They have a great program, great facilities. I think last year you mentioned really Juju almost first. If you ever talked about Carrollton, it was always him. I think you're gonna see it different. They have very good players up there across the board.
Sure.
Look for Carrollton to do well. You never know what can happen there. They'll be right back. They have good players coming back, a first class program. So they've done a great job building that program. I know it's tough to get to a state championship. You get beat. They've been there a couple of times, but hey, you did make it there.
Yeah.
And one person just doesn't get you there. It takes a team. It takes a lot going on. So look
no
for
question
to be back, and who knows, they'll make a run. But as far as teams on the outside that we could talk, look, first of all, I gotta say, in being realistic, you got to look at the teams in South Georgia. Again, I feel like there's several that are capable. If they can start peaking at the right time and get on a run, then anything could happen. And, of course, you got to look at Colquitt. I think Sean Calhoun does an outstanding job at Colquitt.
Right.
They have good numbers in their program. We just talked about their running back. He's a big-time guy. I mean, Sean Calhoun, he's kind of an offensive-minded coach. He'll definitely throw it around some. I feel like they're a great program. You can never count them out. Valdosta has a lot of key people in positions. I think Shelton Felton, the job that he's done coming in, look, he just walked into a situation he had nothing to do with that he inherited. And, it went deeper than just the football team. It was in the school board and the community and everything else. Yeah. That's a whole separate conversation. The job he's done to level that out, I think, is just been phenomenal. And I think he's been there now, and he's getting some stability there now. And so we need Valdosta to be good. They're the winningest high school football program in the country.
Yes.
So we need them to be good. And be good. And look, Lowndes, I know that you just spoke about Lowndes. Look, when you just say Lowndes, people know that name. Lowndes is very well known. When I go, I'll be talking to people, and they say, "Oh, that school on I-75."
Absolutely. And so Mark is we're talking about 6A, and Mark will rejoin us here in just a minute. All right, so I wanted to mention T-Retta Marietta. Marietta's, along with Roster Sutherland, big fans of the Blue Devils. T-Retta Marietta says, "What's up, Phil? I appreciate the shout-outs. Them Blue Devils are ready to compete." All right, you got a new head coach in Cameron Duke. He comes from Edgewater there in Orlando. Is he going to have enough, though, taking over for Richard Morgan at Marietta to get Marietta back to the same competitive level they were a few years ago, winning the state championship? It remains to be seen. We're talking about teams to look out for in Class 6A. We're about to go to 5A before we get out of here tonight. But Class 6A, who are we missing, guys? Who are some of the teams maybe that we're not hitting on? Talk to me. I'm looking at your comments there in the comment section. Jonathan Sumner says Tiff should be much improved this year. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, Jonathan, I don't know if it's going to be good enough though for a top 10, but they will be back. We got Mark Dykes back with us. Mark, welcome back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I guess I was getting long-winded or something.
I don't know what happened, but Mark, wrapping up 6A. So, I mean, again, it's kind of the usual suspects, Mark. I mean, really, if you think about it, not really a lot of suspense necessarily. We talked about Grayson. We talked about Buford. We talked about Carrollton, right?
Yeah.
And again, kind of talking about some of the usual suspects. Guys, anybody else that you'd like to add other than the usual teams?
Well, and I talked a little bit about South Georgia teams. Look, you got to favor those North Georgia teams. That's just being realistic. They're loaded up there for sure. But I do think that South Georgia team could make a run if they get going at the right time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to repeat myself or when I got cut off, but Concord is a very good team. Valdosta, Shelton Felt's done a great job there. Lowndes has a very talented quarterback. Adam Carter's done a great job there.
Yes.
So, and you can't. Camden is in that mix as well.
Yep.
Tipp County is certainly on the upswing.
Yep.
So anything could happen, but in 6A, you've got to favor the North Georgia teams, and just me having, I don't know what the numbers are of other programs. I don't know, Phil, you've talked to a lot of coaches, you may ask, but when I think about Grayson having 170 10th, 11th, and 12th graders,
that's impressive.
And everybody seems to be pulling in the same direction. Watch out. I mean, they're very talented.
Stephen K. Wynn now brings up, there's some of these teams that kind of fell off last year, and one of them, Mill Creek. People tend to have forgotten about Josh Lovelady, Mark, and the Mill Creek Hawks. Remember, they were the dominant team there for a couple of years. Got on an absolute roll. And then, of course, didn't get it done last year, but North Cobb certainly a team to watch out for.
Well, that goes back to the old Jimmy's and Joe's over there at Mill Creek. They had Caleb Downs. And, Caleb Downs, you're talking about an incredible, just natural,
unbelievable
athlete.
Yes. Yes.
He'll be a top 5 draft pick probably in the NFL next year.
Oh, I think it's a hands down.
Yeah. I mean, you got someone like that. It's it's he can lift everybody up. So you put some talent around an athlete like that, he can do a lot of things. By the way, we went and hung out with Caleb Downs his senior year of high school. If you go to our YouTube channel and punch in Caleb Downs,
right,
really good video there, just hanging out with him. He's a very down to earth guy, great guy.
All right, so why don't we move to 5A? And, of course, when you're talking about 5A, by the way, I've said this before, Mark, and I'm going to go on the record. 5A is the most competitive classification in the state.
Yep.
And I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah, why don't we tease 5A and then start off with that on the next show?
Oh, you're killing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I was supposed to be somewhere. I don't want you to do 5A without me.
I got you, brother.
Well, listen, be in this 5A game.
I got you. Well, listen, that is the perfect thing.
Look, I'm going to put you on the spot, Phil.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Right. I have a little bit of fun here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who plays for the 6A state championship? And then who wins it?
I think it's going to be Milton and Lee County.
No. Whoa. 6A.
Yep.
6A.
Oh, 6A. Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I think, and I don't know how the playoff brackets are gonna mesh out. But I really believe Buford, and if they can, again, I don't know how the brackets work out, but in my opinion, the two best teams in Class 6A are Buford and Grayson.
Okay. Yeah, I can go with that. You could get an upset to get there, but
What do you think?
Well, I think that's an obvious pick. I would, I could certainly go along with that. I think if you look on paper, they are the most talented squads, top to bottom in terms of depth. And then when you go beyond that, you look at the coaching staff and the leadership, all those, they check all those boxes too. So I get it. Anything could happen and come along. I would say if there's a dark horse, I'm not going to say it's not a dark horse, but dark horse. But I think Carrollton could squeeze in there. But yeah, I would say Buford and Grayson. I agree with you. That's they're just loaded up top to bottom.
All right, so guys, there's the tease. Mark's put it out there. Next week we'll start with 5A. We'll talk about 5A. We'll talk about 4A. Next week, as we take another look at two of our classifications, we'll talk about position rankings. And guys, be thinking about this. Who do y'all think are the best players at any one position? And I'll be letting you guys know during the week between now and next Monday. By the way, Monday. Put it on your calendar, guys. We're back to our regular Monday. That's where we started. You guys remember? So we're back to Mondays, and Mark, eventually we'll be going to 2 days a week with our football coverage.
Yeah, that's right. We'll, as soon as the season gets kicked off, we will, or maybe right before it gets kicked off, we will, we'll go back to a couple of days a week. There'll be plenty to talk about.
Yep.
Look forward to that. You never know, but hey, so you're picking Buford and Grayson.
Buford and Grayson, yes, Class 6A. And again, it may be, I don't know how the brackets will fall, but if they do happen to be that way, I like Buford. I really like Buford a lot. I think it's there's a couple of coaches and teams, Mark, that I think this, they're overdue. I think it's Brian Appling. I think it's Josh Niblett. They got the talent. Those are some of the most talented coaches in the state of Georgia. I really like Drew Swick. Mark, you know what they say about defense, right? Defense wins championships.
Hey, I'm a running game defensive guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Collins Hill went, and I know it's a spring game. Collins Hill went to Norcross, Mark, in the spring game. And Drew Swick himself said, Phil, we dominated in all three phases.
Well, they're a talented program. He's a great guy. I've had a chance to go up there, meet him, talk to him, look at the facilities. They have a great stadium, a great environment there.
Yes.
Of course, everybody knows Travis Hunter. That's where where he played.
That's right.
Which, by the way, he just couldn't speak highly enough about Travis Hunter and said, when he was in school, he was a hardworking guy, very good student, good person. So, yeah, again, that's another place that checks a lot of boxes. A lot of talent, good coaching staff, good environment, a lot of people pulling in the same direction. So, I think you gotta look at all of it: coaching staff, administration, players, touchdown club. Where is everybody on the same page, and then who has the talent? So, we'll have some fun next week talking about 5A for sure. Yep. I think last year 5A was probably more competitive than 6A, just, the way it shook out. Certainly South Georgia had a good presence, made playoff runs. But 5A will be, we'll have a good time talking about 5A. A lot of good things can happen.
Yeah. And I'll say this, and again, we'll kind of close it out, but the thing I like about 5A, not only do I think it is the most competitive classification in the state from top to bottom, Mark, and for our viewers, but we've been talking about, which classification, which setup is going to provide the best opportunity for balance. So that is South
Yeah.
Georgia teams able to get it done. You look at 5A, you got Thomas. Listen, we hadn't talked a lot about Thomas County Central, Mark. I think they're going to be right back in the saddle.
Yeah, we'll get to them. That they're one of my favorite teams and programs.
Yeah.
We'll certainly get to them tomorrow. I think Coach Rogers has done an outstanding job there. A lot of good things going on there.
Yep.
I think that that place. I think before said and done, it may be the best place in Georgia to be.
Could be.
I mean, once everything's done. So,
all right.
Anyway, but all right, guys. So, Phil, if you want to sign us out of here, I'm gonna prepare to stay a little bit longer next week.
Okay.
In case we run a little bit longer, which we have today. But yeah. So I'll plan on coming back in next Monday. We'll talk about 5A, some other players. I'm just sitting here curious. I wonder what high school team has the highest NIL value. That's an interesting.
That is an interesting poll. So, guys, think about that. We got a lot of great content to come back next week and talk about. Which school, Mark is putting it out there, has the best or the most NIL valuation. Is that your question?
Yeah. In other words, that would be, I guess, the team that has the most players that are getting these offers that are, leading to that NIL valuation. So, by the way, it's not a matter of if, it's when. There was a kid, he is an 8th grader. He's just going into the 9th grade. He's a quarterback. He is 6'3", 205. Leaving the 8th grade, okay?
Wow.
Supposedly, I was listening to an interview with him and his dad, and I want to look and verify this, but supposedly he was being offered $20,000 a month to play in high school.
What?
Hey, next week I'm gonna have his name. I'm gonna be prepared to talk about him. Very articulate guy. His dad, his father was very articulate. Seemed to be. Look, they have a plan. He seemed to be a great kid.
Right.
Clearly, he's being talked about a lot. But I'll have some more information, and we can talk about that a little bit next week. But I hadn't heard that kind of money to be paid to someone to play in high school. Now,
unbelievable.
According to his dad, they have chosen a school. It's not one of the glamorous schools to go to. They're going there because of the coach, and he's not necessarily focused on the money at this point in his life and career. He knows all that'll come later.
How about that?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to believe. But
so again, we'll pick 5A back up next week, Mark. We'll talk about NIL a little bit as far as who's got the highest valuation. Something else I want to talk about too, Mark, next week, and I know we touched on it briefly earlier tonight, but look how many of these 8th and 9th graders are seeing the field, Mark. It used to be very, very rare. And while it's certainly not, it's not the main, they don't make up the main part of the roster, but you're starting to see more and more of these younger players. I'm talking about 8th graders, 9th graders,
right,
that are making an impact on the varsity squad, Mark.
Well, and I think part of that is sports have evolved so much. Kids are playing earlier. They are specializing earlier.
Yes.
Again, whole different conversation, but they're just better prepared now than they ever have been, at a young age to come out of middle school and go into high school. And if you're blessed enough to have the physical attributes to do that, like this kid I'm talking, 6'3", he's going out of the 8th grade, 6'3", 205. If you can play, then you're prepared. You have been preparing for years since you were 10 years old to be able to come in and make a difference.
Yeah.
And I do think that's where we are today. It's it's a different world. Phil's got his pizza there. All right.
Right on cue.
Don't eat the whole pizza, man.
Oh no, I couldn't do that. There's no way I could do that. But I do want to
so-
thank our friends here at Mellow Mushroom. Mark, great atmosphere here. I want to thank our friends here for having us, and look forward to being here next week.
Yeah, listen, Phil, you got to get a few people out so you can share that pizza with somebody, and bring a couple of shirts with you and give away a couple of shirts to somebody.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to do that. So next week, you guys heard it. I'm going to bring out some shirts, and I'm going to give those away. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just be here next week, and we'll figure out maybe some trivia. We'll have some fun and give out some shirts. How about that?
All right, that sounds good. All right, guys. Hey, Phil, I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah,
Look
Mark.
forward to next week.
Absolutely. Mark, thanks so much for joining us, guys. Thank y'all for joining us. Be sure to offer any kind of parting comments and let us know what you guys want to hear about the show. And remember, 5A, 6A, who's your teams? And we'll look forward to coming back next week and talking more Class 5A, as well as a whole lot more right here. Extra Point with Phil Jones, and Mark going to be joining us again next week. Big thanks to Flint Dykes, who keeps us on the air. Flint, thank you so much for